Hi everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm very glad you're here after all this time. I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant, and thank you for clicking on this video and seeing what we have to say today with tarot cards. So it's been a while since my last video, and I apologize for that. I did want to do this video today about just the upcoming few months. You know, things have been so crazy lately with just, I mean, everything from the continuing pandemic to all the excitement around the Democratic convention, to the whole post office thing, to, you know, everything that's going on around the world right now. I have my fan on and the air conditioning on, and am about to go in a few minutes to pick up a new air purifier that I bought because we're in the midst of these pretty terrible fires raging all around us in Northern California. I am at least an hour from any evacuation zone, so you know we're pretty good right now. It's just that the air is really, really smoky, lots of ash falling in the sky and all those kinds of things. Crazy times, right? So I did want to address that today in today's reading. Before I begin the reading, very, very briefly, if you are interested in a private reading, you can go to my website, cardvoyant.com. I do have some appointments coming fairly quickly available, so you can check that out. There are, you know, live readings, recorded readings, half-hour readings, hour readings, past life readings, and regular readings. I also have some more videos that I hope to get filmed soon. Kim and I have a plan for at least one, but probably two Psychic Sisters videos coming up soon. So hopefully there'll be more. I know it's been a long time since I posted, and I apologize for that. So we do have that coming up. So for today's reading, I'm going to be asking basically, what do we need to know? What would it help us to know? And what would it be good for us to know over the course of the next few months? In my head, I'm kind of thinking in the run-up to the election, but it may go a little bit further. We'll see sort of how far my guides want to carry it. Right now, I'm going to shuffle, and I shuffle for quite a long time. That's when I'm connecting with my guides, asking the questions. That's when I'm figuring out how many cards to put down, because I don't use traditional spreads. And it's also figuring out like what it will look like. I don't think there'll be a lot of cards today because I don't want to make this too long, but I do have to just kind of get a feel for how many cards I'm going to put down. So I will do that. I will definitely be editing much of the shuffling out because I do tend to shuffle for quite a while. But this idea of how I shuffle and how I read, if you're thinking about a private reading, this is how I generally read. So it'll be a very good way for you to sort of get a feel of how I work. So with that said, let me begin shuffling, and we will see what my guides, and I'm sure spirit guides that sort of work with us during this whole situation, have to say for our good over the next 3 months or so. So in my mind, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe 3 cards. That's a good number to have when you're doing, you know, a fairly short reading. But then I got the feeling that we need to have 5 cards. and in this configuration where there's 2 cards on top and then these 3 cards on the bottom. Now, out of 5 cards, we have 3 Pentacles cards, 1 Major Arcana card, and 1 Wands card. That's, in a lot of ways, that's good news, because, you know, there are other cards that could, especially sword cards, that could be more difficult. But here, you know, it's speaking very practically. You know, Pentacles cards are all about very worldly things. They're about money. They're about property. You know, they're about like anything tangible in the world. And this very first card, you know, these 2 cards in combination up here at the top, this Knight of Pentacles, you know, he's lovely because he's a knight. And this, you know, there are page cards, and the page cards are this formulation of an idea. They're the beginning of something, but they're very much in the kind of the idea stage. And when we get to the knight stage, this is the idea of progress, the beginning of something, but actually putting it into motion, right? It's starting to happen. The thing about the Knight of Pentacles is you can see, you know, all of these knights are on horses, on horseback, but some of them are like rearing, and they look like these fast-moving steeds, right? And the Knight of Pentacles is on this kind of plow horse. It's this idea of movement, of going forward, but rather ploddingly. Sometimes even in the case of our country, the United States, even the world, sometimes even taking a few missteps, but still that forward motion. What feels very hopeful about that is that, you know, there's so much like yellow in this card, beautiful hope in this card. And it is that idea of, in many ways, we are coming out of the worst of it. And that's a great feeling. We're coming out of the worst of it, the very worst of it, but we're moving slowly. And of course, there will be, as I said, sort of missteps. It's like the image that I have is like this horse plodding through like a spotty, you know, sort of wet field, and every once in a while kind of stepping in a hole, kind of having to pull themselves out to move forward again. So that's the point we're in. And along with that, you have this 10 of Wands, also kind of a wonderful card, because it is talking about the work that we've done. You know, this is twofold, because there is this kind of idea of reaping what we sow. You know, that's about groups, the individuals. You know, it's sad because there are certain groups who have been so, I would put the QAnon folks in this group. They've been so focused, and they really are sort of devoted to a cause that they believe in. But they've been misled, and many of them sort of in the back of their mind, they sort of know that. And yet it's, you know, you get on these paths that are very dogmatic and very black and white, and it's easier. It's an easier path to be on, because it's like, this is what I believe in, this is truth, and there's no room for gray area. And so they continue to travel along this path, and they will sort of reap what they sow. And it's not that that's necessarily something tangible, like in some cases it is. This Pentacles card, it's not necessarily that, you know, they're going to be thrown in jail or something like that, because we're talking about the people who are thinking about this, not necessarily leaders, although they may have sort of a comeuppance at some time. But this is people, and what happens is it's something of a crushing blow to some people when they understand that this isn't the truth, and also that there isn't going to be a mass movement of acceptance of these ideas, or some mass arrests, or whatever they're thinking of. And it leaves many of them a little broken, and many of them also more fiercely determined to sort of prove their point. And so there is a matter of sort of reaping what you sow. And, you know, those are the people that, they're just mired in this for a long time, in these beliefs and in this anger, a lot of anger, and that has to do with their own feelings of powerlessness, their own feelings about their own lives and sort of what they deserve. It's a desire very much to be heard. So that will happen, but for the majority of people who simply want a better life for themselves, for their children, who want justice, who want peace, who want harmony, who want to be able to simply live, make a living, buy a house, all those things that people just want when we talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They have been working, we all have been working toward these things. We care about these things. People protest because of these things. And this also talks about the harvest of all of those good things. And it's starting to come. Again, going back to this plow horse, it's a slow process. It really is. But it feels like with the election, and this has to do with the United States election, but there are things that happen across the world that are sort of victories in this cause of justice, really, love, these two things, which really, this balancing, this justice, this peace that we all seek is really, they really are just sort of variations on what we call love. They're all part of that. And so there are victories, small victories all over the globe. And it sort of turns us in this beautiful yellow light of the Knight of Pentacles and gets us working toward that, reaping, again, this Ten of Pentacles, again, reaping what we have sown, right? So we do move forward. And that isn't to say that there isn't some more to go through this summer and into the fall, because there certainly is. This is happening parallel, right? There's a parallel thing of we still have this great upheaval, things being sort of, sometimes this whole upheaval, this very physical upheaval, simply sort of jolts us into understanding what we want, what we need, how we will work together to fix whatever problems these various political or social justice movements, like protests and stuff, but also these very physical things that happen. So any sort of physical natural disaster kind of situation, we work through those, and we're stronger for it. And it also, it's symbolic in many ways of the great upheaval that's happening. This is a symbolism that the universe uses, but not as a punishment, because we're part of this. We're part of the energy that creates this, even if we don't know that, right? We're part of the energy that creates this, that's calling for all these many great changes. And this work that we've done, that so many people have done, this painful, slow moving work toward peace and justice and greater understanding, and even protection of the less fortunate, protection of the less able to speak for themselves, protection of the planet. So many things that speak about that protection element, which is also love manifested. So down here on this bottom row, as we talk about this sort of slow movement, this reaping what we sow, whatever that is for these various groups, but I'm telling you, the group that is moving toward the sort of justice, peace, love is much larger than the people who are a little bit lost and who are looking more for some sort of justification, some sort of something that they feel is justice. The sort of more mature attitude and this more loving attitude, all of these people who are working toward that, there's so many in different areas, and so many beautiful stories of this sort of commitment that we'll learn even more about in the next several decades. They're far larger. Their movement is far stronger and larger. And that is the direction we're going in. And you can see it takes us right down here to this one major arcana card in our reading. And that's the Sun card. And this is a lovely card because you can see all this beautiful symbolism of the new and the change, this child that represents this sort of rebirth, new beginning, this white horse of purity. And this talks about our intention. And, you know, in these movements that we're talking about toward justice and peace and balance and equality, you know, fairness and caring, they are very pure. They have a very pure intent behind them. And this horse speaks of that. This red flag speaks of the passion with which we move into the sunlight. And the great works of the sun is symbolized here by the sunflowers, the things that we grow. And we really are, it's reassuring to me. We really are moving in this direction, and it really is a new day, right? And not everything's perfect. I don't want to create this idea of this sort of utopia that suddenly appears, because that's not how life works, right? We work towards something, we put in the work, and we sort of, this is what we really call manifesting. We know what we want and we work toward it, and slowly it becomes our reality. And what we are working toward are these things, this honesty, peace, justice, equality, freedom in many respects, freedom from so many things, which is what equality is, the freedom to be so many things, I should say. And that speaks of equality. I mean, this is allowing people to be themselves, to accept everyone and love that sort of opportunity that we have to be ourselves, because it brings wonderful things into the universe, right? When we allow people to express themselves to the greatest degree possible. And that's where you get this this lovely Queen of Pentacles energy, because this Queen of Pentacles is talking about that future and what it looks like. And you can see here, we've moved from sort of this Knight of Pentacles, where you see, moving towards something, but here we are smack dab in the middle of it with the Queen of Pentacles. And this talks, you can see the beautiful sort of fruitfulness of everything around her. And there's a lot of symbolism going on here, and I won't go into all of it because you can kind of see so much of it. This lush garden, this beautiful throne, there's this idea of fruitfulness, of the joy. You can see some of this imagery of sort of young people. There's much joy surrounded with this generation, the sort of upcoming generation. And I'm talking about those who are sort of voting for the first time, all of, that sort of young generation, but very much this very young generation who are really children, these, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. They're bringing such a fantastic energy into the universe. And they are a generation who will very freely and very openly, very lovingly, because there are going to be so many things that we cast aside now, so many sort of judgments that we begin to cast aside. And so they grow up with so many fewer judgments that they really do usher in a very beautiful, serene world. And this queen, it comes across as the queen again, and I've gotten this over and over again, rather than the king, because there is this idea of this divine feminine energy. And that doesn't mean it's exclusive to women. It talks simply about the way that we sort of iconically think of feminine energy, and that has to do with nurturing. It has to do with peaceful resolution. It has to do with caring equally for others. If you are a parent, you understand. You may not have understood before you were a parent how you can have so much love and such equal love for your children. And that's this idea of this divine feminine energy, and we're moving into that, right? And still, then we get this Seven of Pentacles, another Pentacles card, right? We had this idea up on top of reaping what we sow with the Wands card, but it's very philosophical in so many ways. And yet it becomes very physical when we talk about that actually reaping. But here in the Seven of Pentacles, we see this figure who's sort of admiring what he has grown, done a lot of work and grown a lot of things. And yet he is sort of pausing to figure out what to build next. Where do I go from here? What am I growing? And how do I continue growing what I want? So there's a pause, right? There's a pause in growth. Now, we've built a lot of things in this world, in our country, in whatever state that you live in, your community, your life, your family. And this whole summer, this whole long summer that really began in so many ways in like April, but this long period, let's say this half of a year, and going forward, there's a little bit more time before we fully step out of it. It really has been a time that has forced us to look at what we have built. And there's going to be more of that, I was going to say. Some of our, just like, for instance, with the fires that we're having in California right now, it's really forcing people to look at some of the systems we have, including things like using prison labor, because right now we can't do that because of the whole COVID situation. So we're short firefighters, but it makes you evaluate that whole system. Like, what are we doing with that? Is that something that we even want to do, this whole system, sort of a prison labor? But this is happening with many things, and it will continue to happen for a while. And actually, it's very interesting because it does feel like it's the run up to the election. This is pivotal in so many ways. The whole world is watching, and so we've built this almost as a deadline for ourselves, this election time, and many things will still happen in the run up to that. Probably some sort of natural disaster kind of things, other things that we just have to look at, our systems, other things that are bringing about justice, right? And that will influence us a great deal. But the whole point is that during this time, we have been forced to look at ourselves and look at what we've grown and decide what we want to grow going forward. So you get this Seven of Pentacles that's calling on us to do that. Again, this comes after the Sun card. It's almost like we get the Sun card that's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And here's what it can look like if we move toward it, this Queen of Pentacles. And then we get this card that's saying, hey, this is all possible, this beautiful sun and everything, but we need to really evaluate what brought us here, what we grew, right? And what we are growing going forward. What are we going to allow our future to look like? What are we going to grow now that is going to feed our future? And that's what it's calling on us to do over these next few months. Maybe you can feel it. I have begun to sort of feel that shift toward moving towards sort of the end of things. It does feel like that with the election. Again, that doesn't mean there's not going to be craziness over the next 2.5 months, whatever the exact timing is. It means that during this time, we need to show ourselves and everybody within our sort of scope of influence, but that always expands out into our communities, states, countries, the world. You know, the things that we do and care about reverberate. So we sort of have to step up and show ourselves and the universe what it is exactly that we want. Now that we've evaluated and we certainly know what we don't want, and there's going to be more of that, you know, coming out where we say never again. Now that we've done that, what is it that we're specifically building toward? And then we have to work for that very hard. I feel like there's such a shift that our leaders, especially these elected leaders that come after this time of such corruption and such disregard for the common person, I feel like they really are more in tune, and they're forced to be more in tune because, you know, we the people demand it. So there is this feeling that there's so much possibility of moving in that direction that we want to, this direction of peace and love and equality and caring, right? To caring for each other, caring for the planet, caring for the decisions that we make, like no longer being quite as reckless as we have been in the ways in which we sort of function and move our sort of discoveries forward. There's more of an idea of let's always look where we're going, where this is going to lead us. There's a way to look past, into the past, to discover that and to help us move into the future. And if there's one thing that one of the things I should say that we've really discovered during these past 6 months is the ways in which the past can help us see the future, engage the future. And that will be helpful moving forward also, because this is all about that slow night, unfortunately, slow, but it's consistent and constant movement forward, really into a better world, a more just world, a more balanced and peaceful world for everyone. So there you have it. Now I know that some people would prefer a reading where it's like, this is going to happen to this person, and this is what's, you know, who's going to be elected, and this person's going to jail. And I really think there are some good readers out there, and good, just like sort of psychics. My sister Kim is very good at that kind of thing. And I feel like my guides give me this kind of information that is a little more universal in its concepts and ideas and messages to us. When I do private readings, I always get my clients' questions, and so my guides can be much more specific and speak to those things. If you've had a reading for me, feel free to talk about it in the comments or on my website or anything, because it helps other people decide if that's something that they're interested in or that they feel would be helpful to them. And knowing, hearing like stories, that's always helpful to sort of make those decisions. But I do want you to know that is available to you if you feel like you need some help in that direction. Now I have a couple of other ideas for videos that I'd like to do a little bit different from this. So I will be posting those before too long. Until then, I sincerely hope that this reading has been helpful to you and resonates with you on a certain level and offers some insights into what we're going through and how we're moving forward. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing if you subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. And I will, talk to you more about what I try and figure out with Jacob's Journal material and with other readings coming up. So thanks again. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of others. And until next time, I will just say, I'm Kris, and I'm your Cardvoyant. And goodbye for now.